In Toronto, if you're into something weird, obsessive or perverse, you can bet there's someone else doing it too. The irascible Torontonian character Reg Hartt wraps posters around telephone poles advertising his cinema, the front room of his house where he showcases classic and avant-garde films.
This place is dangerous, I'm not gonna lie to you, because questions arise that they don't elsewhere.
You don't have to believe in Jesus to believe in the Sermon on the Mount. And, I believe in Jesus and I believe in the Sermon on the Mount. And the Sermon on the Mount says that you're supposed to see the stranger as your long-lost brother and sister. You're supposed to welcome into your house as your long-lost brother and sister. And I do that here. But the Buddha taught the same thing. And it's what really life is all about. So I was having a dinner here one time, well, more than once, but we're having a lot of people over. I thought, I need a stranger in here to make this work right. I left the door open when I was preparing all the food, and the first person who poked her head in was going to get invited to dinner. But you have to leave the door open for the stranger, because you can't get new blood in without doing that. And people come here and they think they're going to a regular cinema. They get here and find out it's not a regular cinema, and they panic and leave, which spares me from having to put up with them. I've been told by many Asian Buddhist masters that these are the eyebrows and the ears of a living Buddha. Well, who says you have to go to school to learn anything? And what do you learn in school except what they give you? Kubrick was the man. Stanley Kubrick was the man. Stanley Kubrick never took a day of schooling, going right back to high school, public school. He could buy his way out of. He hired students to take notes for him. His fellow students took notes for him. He certainly didn't go to film school. In Spain, Pedro Almodóvar, who's a world-class filmmaker, said he got lucky because Franco closed down all the film schools and he couldn't go to them. The film schools create the worst kind of filmmakers, and I really wish they didn't exist. Well, Rochdale was a unique thing. I was out in Hollywood in 1970 at the invitation of a friend. I got stopped by the Los Angeles police, and all I had by way of identification was a library card for Toronto Public Library. And those days are long gone, where you could travel Canada and the States with a library card. And they said, "What do you do in Toronto?" I said, "I showed films at Rochdale College." And they said, "You mean Canada's Communist Training Center?" And I thought, oh my God, if the Los Angeles police, the police in Hollywood, know about Rochdale College, it has to be the hippest place on earth. I'm wasting my time here. So I came back to Toronto and I came to Rochdale, and I met Peter when I first became part of Rochdale in 1968. And he said, "What could you do?" I said, "I can give you a film program." He said, "Then you're director of cinema studies." So I gave myself the best possible film program I could ever want. And today, of course, with access to DVD and Blu-ray, there's no need. You can learn more at home in a week than you can learn in 5 years at film school, and not have your brains screwed up by some twerp teacher. You know what a twerp is? I found out what a twerp, a person who's a twerp actually is. A twerp, the definition of a twerp, is someone who eats their farts in the bathtub. I was over at postering at University of Toronto for this week's program at the film school there. It's called Innes College, and one of the professors walked out, and it was clear from the look of him as a young man, he'd been physically very beautiful, but he looked like a walking mummy, and he was very frightened and very pursed and very full of himself, not friendly at all. And I thought, well, you were never a human being. They produce people who really aren't alive. Warhol was blocked from entry into the art establishment because the people in that world just felt he was too out there. And Warhol said, I like who I am. I'm not going to change. They can change. I'm not going to like who I am. And that's something that everyone needs to decide, whether you're a homosexual flamer or you're an ordinary person. You have to decide that the world will like you on your terms. You'll not be liked on their terms. To be liked on their terms means to win the world but lose your soul. The word soul means self. And Andy was a very strong man. He was led by his sex, and he was led to meet interesting people as a result of that. We try to separate in our world the sexual life from the ordinary life, and that can't be done. And when someone does that, they kill a very important part of themselves. Warhol embraced it wholeheartedly, and anybody who's ever mattered embraced it wholeheartedly. That's why creative people are, in a sense, viewed as being morally perverse. They're not morally perverse. They just have a sense of morality that rises beyond that of most people.
I'm not the type of person that goes on a Friday night to Cineplex to have popcorn and to watch a USA movie. It's not for me. I was taking a couple of classes in Latin American film at U of T. My professor at that time, Wendy Rolfe, she mentioned this place as a very good, excellent place to watch special documentaries that you're not going to see anywhere else. The uniqueness of the documentaries, the preparation first, the information, the setup, everything.
The Cineforum is a combination of many things. It's a combination of the Beat Hotel in Paris. It's a combination of the Academy in Athens. It's a combination of Warhol's Factory. It's in part the original Cinémathèque Française of Henri Langlois, not the current one, but the one that was in an old house in Paris. It's very much the salon of Gertrude Stein, where people walk in and are embraced at once as old friends. If you've seen Midnight in Paris, Woody Allen's film, well, this place is very much like the world that you see in that film.
Moonlight night that killed the sun. The purple season. Sitting in the kitchen with Reg's back in front of me. We all die by the hands of angels, don't we, I said. The 3 days before, the season of sex had culminated in a binge so deep into insanity, I was left with quivers of the eyes and mind, and faint questions I didn't have the soul to shout. More ugly faces, more shakes, and the whorehouse where the whore's breath stank of sugary death. But right now she's at the coffee shop, waiting for me to finish the smoke of my childhood, and the smoke that crawled all the way back to the card store and Midnight Fandango. That night, that first night, then there was the day. The first one I told Reg was a day of destiny, walking out with my heart blooming. Oh, boys and girls of the streets become gargoyles at night if they don't have any sparkles tinkling in their bloodstream.
What I like to do is, I'm a poet. Well, I came in off the street because I saw his poster for the LSD talk, and it turned out I was the only one that showed up. Well, he did the LSD talk, and then afterwards it just ran on and on and on, and we were just having a complete soul talk for like 5 hours. And at the end of that, he mentioned a room was opening up, and I thought about it, and then the next month I moved in. But the first time I met Reg Hartt, I thought, I didn't really think much, but he looked like kind of like a monk to me. I thought he was like a monk. Yeah, I remember that. He looks exactly like a monk. And he's not a monk, but he has the wisdom of a monk. So my judgment wasn't completely off. That was the first time. Just the psychic atmosphere of it is very radical, borderline ridiculous at times, hilarious, and just like the ideas that float around are not very conventional. And there is, I believe, I don't know if people will agree with me on this, but I believe there's a potential to lose your mind in a place like this, but there's also a potential for illumination. So there's always like both sides, I feel this, at least. Well, I have one DVD, the rest are Reg's, but I have one DVD and it's my favorite movie. It's Dead Man with Johnny Depp. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes Reg is like, "Can you help me find one movie?" And then we're like,
It's like a half hour, yeah.
"Yeah." Otherwise, people, it's like you take this side, you take that side, and try to look over it. When I moved in, this was the only room available. There's no window. It's not really big. I have a sleeping bag to put down after it. It's because it's small, but it could fit me, like, say, if I actually get a girlfriend someday.
I walked around the city and I saw those small black and white posters everywhere. It was like surrealist, hallucinatory film fest and sex and violence cartoon festival. So whatever is playing tonight, I'm going. It was the first place I came in Toronto. So yeah, I discovered just like everybody. Like I saw the flyers on the street. There's the people. There's always like interesting travelers and artists and people and poets and whatnot. And then it's like the availability of books and films, and Reg is a living, like, he's a living encyclopedia.
Teaching is a spiritual thing. In native cultures, the teachers were the elders. Men and women who could no longer hunt or take care of the home. That was left to the mother and father. It was never the role of the mother and father to raise children. That was not their duty. That duty belonged to the grandparents, to the elders. That connection's broken today. The elders are out of touch with the youth. Youth are out of touch with the elders. So the young are drifting. They have no sense of themselves, no sense of where they belong in time and space, no sense of being part of something greater than themselves. And it's not their fault.
Well, first of all, I don't sleep with Reg. I feel he's a colleague. I mean, a colleague because he's part of the entertainment business. He's into theater,
Yeah.
and that's the arts. And that's my main connection with him. That's our bloodline right there. Okay? Entertainment and creativity. That's what I feel. I like to listen to him. I like to listen to him talk. So, because I myself like to learn things, and he teaches things. He says things very subtly to me, but I take it granted. And that's what I like about him. Actually, yeah. I could be in a kitchen with Reg without him and I saying anything to each other, and I feel like I've learned something. Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, that means a lot.
Yeah, I find that special.
I've also learned about life, I guess. Yeah. How to live. But I've also learned about debauchery quite a bit.
But Reg definitely is the pioneer, and the city needed, and well, for being such a big metropolitan city, I think every city needs. I think every town needs something like this. There should be a Reg type in every place, in every town, in every city. That's what I think.